Well, good day, everyone. Welcome to Synoptek's Business Intelligence webinar. We'll be starting here very shortly. We're excited to have you with us today, and we hope you find this of value and benefit to you and your company. So we'll be starting here very shortly in about 30 seconds to a minute. We're just waiting for people to join. All right, so today we're going to speak about leveraging business intelligence and data analytics to empower decisions on your organization. We have some case studies that we'll be discussing, and let me introduce our team for you today. Myself, Michael Wisniewski. I'm a business development rep, been with Synoptek about 1 year, and I'm headquartered in Chicago. We have Sean Ryan, who is one of our senior solution architects for business intelligence. And we have Debbie Zelton, who is the practice director for our custom applications and data analytics practice here at Synoptek. So now I'll turn it over to the team to continue the presentation.
So a quick note on agenda. First of all, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us this afternoon or this morning, depending on your time zone. So brief note on the agenda. We'll talk a little bit about how companies are using BI and data analytics and what they get from that in terms of the benefits or some of the problems that are associated with not going down that path of business intelligence. We'll speak to business maturity and some of the success factors that will help drive a business intelligence solution within your organization. And then we'll talk about some of the case studies where we've had some success in delivering these solutions and the outcomes for the business that we can expect from going down one of these business analytics or data analytics or business intelligence solutions. We'll have a little bit of Q&A, and then finally we'll end up with a bit on the Synoptek methodology and how we deliver outcomes, positive business outcomes with business intelligence and data analytics. So how are companies using BI? I think at the highest level, we're really talking about being able to define your KPIs as it relates to the business and specifically the business outcomes. Once those KPIs are defined, then it's a matter of collecting those, gathering that data, if there's calculated KPIs as part of that, but being able to track those KPIs over time. And the value and some of the use cases for some of those, what you see here on this slide. Fraud is really one of the key areas that we see, fraud detection and prevention. We know that from a transaction standpoint, when there are transaction anomalies, when you have a lot of transactions in a particular area, or that go against a particular trend, that there can be flags that will determine when this fraud has happened. That's one of the key use cases for business intelligence, and we see that in large financials using that with credit card companies or even with online banking. Very common use case. I think specific to the healthcare space, we know that patient outcomes, positive patient outcomes, are something that can be affected by doing these data analytics, understanding all the different points in a patient's care, and when those care points change and need to be reevaluated. example here is when to take somebody off a ventilator. There are countless other use cases, and being able to again collect that data, track those KPIs, and then achieve the outcome. We also talk about pricing and demand, and I think that's one of the areas where we see quite a bit of data intelligence and data insights brought to bear in our market. We know that keeping extra product in our shelves is not a way to be efficient as a business. Likewise, not having the products that consumers are wanting is also a lost business, lost revenue opportunity. So using data analytics and business intelligence to track those supply and demand features within our organization to make sure that we're right-sized at all points and positively affect the revenue and the bottom lines. Other use cases or areas where we see business intelligence brought to bear would be product preferences. As consumers, every one of us as consumers, we're well aware of this business intelligence practice when we're in a web browser and we see the ads surfed up in the banner ads. And I was just thinking about that, talking about that, looking at that in a different, yesterday. And so being able for sellers to be able to understand the preferences of their consumers, not only from a web preference, but from their mobile devices and down to every interaction they have online. That's where business BI is being brought to bear to really drive these additional sales. And then finally, as we take some of these more, descriptive, predictive type capabilities and move, from that more descriptive into that predictive realm, which we'll talk a little bit later here on the maturity model, but being able to predict and forecast what's happening in the future. There's an example here of our oil and gas company being able to reduce their truck rolls. We know folks like UPS use these predictive models to determine best routes using the less fuel and the least amount of time. And it was one of the early, really predictive models deployed in this space. And then overall, here's just a quick graphic here to understand where the business intelligence is going as practice and as a domain from a spending standpoint. As we can see, year over year, the spend on this area is expected to go up, and we've seen that happen historically, and we expect that to go forward in the future. So business intelligence telling us how we spend money on business intelligence.
Yeah, so basically companies are spending money in this area to gain competitive advantage. It's basically what it's telling us, as well as to add on to something that Sean mentioned about predictive models, is I wanted to bring up another use case regarding customer churn. One of the things that you can use predictive models to understand some of the, why your customers might potentially leave you and or stay with you. And if you can predict those things, then you can understand, ahead of time, what makes a customer sticky versus, what makes them leave, and work towards keeping your customer. All right. Thanks, Sean.
Absolutely. Okay, on to the next slides here. So how would a company benefit when they bring this BI practice or BI solution into their organization? I think Debbie mentioned the churn aspect of it, but really before we can even churn, we have to acquire these customers. So being able to target the customers, whether that's based on product preferences or the services they are seeking, or some other metrics that we're using internally to track our current customer base, we know we can grow our customer base through the insights we get through business intelligence reporting. The other aspect of this and how it supports customer acquisition is being able to really track the business goals from a non-emotional standpoint. I know when folks get in the room and really driving high-level business objectives, there can be a lot of opinions that come into play. But having the data and the understanding of where we've been and the trending of where we're going and how well we're doing today and where we have gaps, that's where business intelligence can really lead to meeting these business objectives that get set every spring or every fall when We look at our Q1 through Q4 objectives and how those are maintained. We use business intelligence to drive those in an efficient manner. And at the end of that, we're expecting some net benefit to the business. And typically that's a boost in revenue, a boost in profit by revenue increases and cost reductions. And we see that in a number of areas where we can track the efficiency of the business and reduce our costs, as well as increase our sales through the various processes we mentioned on the previous slide. Making superior business decisions, right? The point of having this data presented to us and collected and presented in a way that's understanding is to be able to have actionable decisions, to make the decision support that comes out of these analytics that really drive the efficiency of the business and the outcomes that we're seeking through tracking these KPIs. Some of the other areas that applies is not just within the business, but understanding how doing business affects the world around us, right, and the community around us, and understanding how our goals, financial goals, productivity goals, diversity goals, even goals related to environmental targets, how we can track all those and be successful in attaining those goals through the use of data insights. And then finally, going back to Debbie's point earlier with customer churn, we can build up that customer base, we can serve them efficiently, but we have to continue to do that over time and continue to improve their customer experience to keep the customers we have and reduce that churn. Debbie, was there anything else you want to talk about here in terms of outcomes?
No, I think it's good. I think we have a poll question out there. So Sean, if you want to go ahead out there, our audience, and are you getting compelling results of your BI platform? And we will want you answer, and then the answers are yes, no, or I don't currently use a BI platform. And we will discuss those results after the next slide. So Sean, you can take it away to the next slide.
Very well. Thank you, Debbie. So what happens when we don't have the business intelligence solutions mature to a place where they're supporting our decisions in a data-driven way? Well, it's essentially the opposite of most of what you saw on that last slide, and that we have, if there's poor customer experience, we're not gaining those new customers from a customer acquisition standpoint. We're not driving additional sales for the customers that we have, and perhaps we're not retaining the customers because of that poor customer experience. And all this comes from that lack of organizational efficiency. If we're not efficient internally, then we can't provide our customers with a good customer experience. And that includes the employee satisfaction, right? If we're tracking employee satisfaction, then likely we're tracking our internal efficiency, and that's going to reflect itself in customer satisfaction. A lot of what we see today in the BI space or BI capabilities for a lot of businesses is that they're really dependent on the development team or the IP team or the IT team to develop some of these custom reports. And so if you have an extensible business intelligence platform, you can really drive more of the self-service type reporting that takes away some of the, not so much burden, but just the requirement to have a technical staff look at that. And having those pieces in place obviously makes sense for all of this. I mean, really the goal of all this data insights, data analytics, business intelligence is to ensure that we're keeping that competitive advantage. If we don't keep up with our business intelligence practice and grow that solution over time, then we stand the chance to lose that competitive advantage. Or if we've never gone down that road of BI, then we're certainly looking at the chance of losing that competitive advantage against our competitors. And then again, actionable insights. How do we drive the business in a way that's going to provide positive incomes? Without the data-driven, fact-based information to make good decisions, it's really difficult to find those actionable insights. And then finally, is the reporting and the data that we're getting today in our reporting, is that data current enough? Is it accurate enough to really drive the next steps in the business outcomes that we're seeking. If everything month end doesn't get closed until 12 days into the next month, how are we really serving our customers? Are we really understanding, how well we did in the previous month if we're not even looking at it until halfway through the next month? So getting these reports in a timely manner and having them be accurate is key to us being successful. And certainly without that, we can understand the problems and challenges that companies will face. Any other thoughts on problems that companies face without BI? Debbie?
Yep, I'm sure this list is not exhaustive. These are just the sample ones that we find, and it's all very specific to some of the industries that you all might be in, and some of your specific challenges, right? So these are just some of the ones that we see.
I know we had a second poll question, and I don't know if that was already put out there or not, but what are the challenges and barriers that you all are facing in your analytics program, regardless of what state it's in, if it's in a planning state, if it's already been deployed, or if it's been deployed and it's being upgraded? What are some of those challenges and barriers that you're finding in your environments? Okay. So when we talk about business intelligence and maturity, we really talk about it in these 4 stages. So much of what we think of as business intelligence is from a reporting standpoint is really what we describe as this descriptive analytics. Can we do our standard reportings for our month-end finances? Can we do our daily reporting on inventory and demand? Can we create an ad hoc report to understand an anomaly in our sales cycle? These sorts of things that drive the business on a day-to-day basis and help us understand what's happening today or yesterday, right? Or the previous week or month. I think when we look at our customers as a whole, from whether small business, medium business, to larger enterprises, a lot of folks, have some capabilities in the stage 1, and perhaps, or strong capabilities at that stage 1, and then some capabilities into that stage 2, which is the predictive analytics. Can we forecast and can we trend some of the data that we're tracking, being able to do revenue forecasts for a particular sales organization, being able to extrapolate various trends that we're tracking with the KPIs, and then the statistical analysis around this and understanding why these trends are happening the way they have. From there, we really get to the higher order levels of data insights and business intelligence, and then we're talking about this prescriptive analytics, which involves complex data modeling and problem modeling, and understanding how we can change something within a model and see how that affects the outcome from a forecast, from a trending standpoint, and then how can we tweak those parameters to optimize that model and really drive that data-driven decision support. And then finally, we get into the machine learning and AI operations. And this is where a lot of folks, in larger, multinational companies are really striving to get to, but it's something that can be applied to any domain on a small basis. I think some of the exciting stuff that we've seen, in the years from Watson, beating the folks on Jeopardy all the way through to the things that we see in artificial intelligence operations, and being able to have machine learning drive outcomes and that were typically handled by technicians. Any other thoughts, Debbie, on the maturity?
Yeah. So one of the things I don't think you mentioned, Raychan, is just where Synoptek sees a lot of our customers. We do see a lot of our customers more in the stage 1, stage 2-ish area, and we do help them get to the next level. And I think the key point is when they do make the investment, they do see return on investment for the things that they've implemented. When they maybe have somewhat of a platform, or maybe they don't have a BI platform. And then we help them take them to the next level so that they are getting value out of their BI platform and their results and all that sort of thing, whether it be, if they're having data quality issues or just, calculations, dealing with a single source of truth, et cetera. So we definitely help companies move in the maturity model. So just wanted to make that point. And then I think we can go ahead and talk about the results to the first poll. So Sean, I'll turn over you to talk about the results of the first poll before we go on to the next slide.
Okay. Are you getting compelling results out of your BI platform? We have about a third that say yes, about a third that say no, and about a third that say I don't currently use a BI platform. And I wonder for that third that doesn't use a BI platform, is MS Access and Excel a platform? I don't know. We can talk about that maybe a little bit in the Q&A. Any thoughts on the poll results, Devin?
Nope, but this is fairly typical, a typical standard that we see amongst our customers. So thank you. And then we'll move on to the next slide. So the next, I'm going to talk a little bit about what makes a great BI program. So as you know, that a BI program isn't just about the technology platform. It's made up of many different components, right? So obviously you have to have clean, governed data that's trustworthy and accurate. You must have at the enterprise level, because a lot of the KPIs are at the organizational level and some are at the department level. So this has to be a coordinated faction or a coordinated program across resources at the enterprise. So it's best if you can manage and fund the BI program and the resources at the enterprise level. In addition to, you have to have leadership, right? You need to work towards that analytical culture where you do data-driven decision making, not allowing people to use their guts for making or their opinions on decisions. It's all about looking at the data. What does the data say? What are we measuring? What does the data say? How is it trending? And what are our current metrics? Then obviously you need to have those targets, right? In order to get return on investment, you have to actually define meaningful KPIs that go back to your data strategy or your business strategy. What is your business strategy as a company? How does that business strategy, are you more of a cost optimizer? Are you more of a customer driven organization, like customer loyalty? And what are the metrics around customer loyalty? Or what are the metrics around driving down costs? What are the metrics around, everybody's a revenue driven organization, but what are the metrics around revenue driving specific to your organization? And so making sure that you have those metrics, and then as well as, back to the data, is making sure you're collecting data with respect to those metrics. It's not about, here's the data I have, let's develop metrics around that. That won't provide you with the outcomes that you're looking for. You really have to look for, what are the things I want to measure as my organization, map it back to your business and strategy and goals and outcomes that you're trying to achieve, and then go and get the data to support that. And then obviously you need a technology platform, the BI platform that supports your goals with respect to all of this. What are your current use cases, your current reporting? What does the future reporting look like? And you build a platform to support where you're at. And over time, you can build from, just getting a simple platform in place all the way to the advanced analytics, predictive analytics that can grow as your organization grows in starting that. And we're going to talk about some of in the case studies about where we've helped our companies grow in a small way to get some results, and then continue to grow that to get further results. Then obviously need some analysts and data scientists and subject matter experts, because as you get to the more advanced analytics concept, it's not just about, you need somebody who can actually look at those outcomes from a predictive model or machine learning model and really understand that data specifically. And when we start getting into the science areas about getting into some of the clinical outcomes and and those more very specific to the specific business and that subject matter. And then there's also the techniques that you need. So you need to have the right, you have to adopt the analytical techniques and modeling to be able to do those higher level advanced analytics concepts. All right. All right, so now we'll get into some of the case studies here. So this is this is for a nonprofit behavioral health organization that we started very small. As a nonprofit, they want to take, small steps. We've been working with this customer for over 3 to 4 years, and we started with a POC to get the organization excited about what you could do with reporting and dashboarding. And we built, basically an integrated BI solution across the company and across many of their different sources of data to be able to bring some, visualization and dashboards for their supervisors, their clinicians, and then leadership, so that they could have, their KPI, help them identify what their KPIs were. And basically it helped them. We built the architecture and the Microsoft platform. And the key thing here is that we were able to help them increase their lift in revenue by $2.5 million without having to do anything else other than just putting in this BI platform, some other technology enhancements, phasing out legacy reports, getting them to understand their KPIs, and by looking at their KPIs. One of their KPIs was this reducing the amount of time it takes to finish a case from like 12 to 4 days, which enable them to get their payments quicker and then ultimately helps the bottom line. So this is just one of the examples, and the next slide will show you how some of the sample dashboards that we were able to create for them. So there was different leadership dashboards. We have dashboards for clinicians and their supervisors so they can understand what data is needed for them and what they need to do to measure themselves and at the leadership, like organizational level. So by just having access and understanding this, they were able to have some great return, great results. And they had multiple sources here with payroll data, HR data, their clinical system, which was NetSmart. So they had a mix of different systems to be able to pull all this data to get these KPIs that they needed. All right. The next case study is about an industrial construction company. So they also did have similar results in terms of more of a data-driven culture. They were able to reduce their issues, right, and job failures, so that they could increase the quality of the data that they were getting. So we implemented a data warehouse architecture and just were able to enhance it with KPIs around project productivity data. We integrated sources from their Dynamics HR module and integrated with their new custom application that we had developed for them as well. And so with them, we were able to increase the usage of these reports and the analytics throughout the organization. And we also are working with this customer for several years to continually enhance and add different line of business applications and reporting, because this doesn't really end. Once you implement it, then there's always a need for more reports in different departments, as well as just continually enhancing the needs for these reports and perfecting your KPIs as you move through your maturity of your organization with respect to data-driven decisions. And here are some sample dashboards here, kind of tiny print, but you can basically see, just the different ways that you can use the bar charting to give you a quick visualization of how you're doing with your particular metrics. And I think that's the other value of this is you don't have to read through tabular lines and Excel spreadsheets. You can actually create visuals that allow you to really just see quickly where you stand and what your performance is with respect to this, with respect to your KPIs. All right, this is an advanced analytics case study where we work with a motor manufacturing to help them predict when they needed maintenance for their manufacturing line. So this is something where instead of waiting till a part like breaks down, took the last couple years worth of data to determine when things would, when a particular piece on that manufacturing line, when it might break down. So instead of waiting till that, actually making sure that you have maintenance scheduled at the right times based on the data that we had, analyzed. So obviously the use case is to have continuous, keep the manufacturing line continuously up and really no downtime. So with, using the advanced analytics models, using, Power BI, R, random forest and regression, some of the modeling, then we're able to basically let them know when they're going to have an issue, right? So it's basically a proactive instead of reactive maintenance and predicts the service date before failure. In addition to, making sure that we get service before the warranty, the warranty period's up, right? As all of us know from our own experience on things, we want to make sure that everything's okay before the warranty period's up on a particular item. So this is a great value to this organization. And this is some of the dashboards that were created to be able to do that, and just looking at service days, predicted service days, how many service days before we need to bring out, what's the age, right? What's their load variation, right? So analyzing all the different components of their particular manufacturing line to get these different KPIs so they can understand what makes up when the item needs to be serviced. All right. This is our last case study for any of you guys who are interested. This is a medical device company. They provide, this company provides psychiatric services using a medical device. So with this, they had an existing data warehouse that was not helping them at all. The data was all inaccurate, not trustworthy, et cetera. So we actually we were supporting them initially, came onto this client to help support their data warehouse. And, it would take 2 people every single day, like resolving the support issues on, anything from the quality of the reports or the data or fixing this or something in the source system, et cetera. So ultimately, while we were supporting that, we also then built them on the side a clinical data warehouse, a sales and marketing data warehouse to fix, because the system just had to be restarted from scratch. So we basically rebuilt their data warehouse to have more efficient quality of the data and just increase the capability of their platform and the efficiency and standardized the ETL processes, as well as all the data inaccuracies that were occurring. So now, now it's down to, less support is required. 1 to 2 tickets a day is a lot different than, 10 to 15 tickets a day with, 2 full-time people supporting the data warehouse and reporting function. So this was a great win for this client. So we help them with, creating that new BI platform and making more efficient and understanding where the data quality issues were and streamline that. And with that, we always like to show sample dashboards because it's very exciting to see pretty colors and just how you can make these things easy to read. And they can understand more about their patients, the patient's demographics, right? And when do they need when do they need this medical device more trips, to see the doctor, right? So these are the things that they basically sell some sort of chair that the patient utilizes to help with their therapy for their particular disorder. So with that, we are going to move into a Q&A session. But before we go into the Q&A session, we are going to talk about the last poll that you answered, which was, the poll was, let me just read that question.
What are the challenges and barriers in your analytics
Oh, right.
program?
Okay, thank you, Sean. So the challenges and barriers, so the answers came up with, did we get the answers?
Yeah, it looks like about 66% said skills, 33% said getting the value out of that data. And then we didn't get a hit on either the data quality or the proper KPI definition. Yes. But I think the first two definitely tracks with our own experience, certainly from a skills perspective in the Great Recession. I think that's something that a lot of companies are feeling the pinch on and getting the right skill sets to apply. And that certainly applies here to
yeah. So I think sometimes when you're not getting the value of the data, it could be the quality of the data, could be those other items. So there's many different reasons that you may not be getting value out of your data, because maybe are the KPIs tied back to your business strategy? Do you have all the right inputs to those KPIs, and are you utilizing the data in the right way and collecting the right data? So yes, we see this across our clients as well. And then obviously a company like Synoptek has many skill sets. As you know, with VI platform, there's different skill sets, right? There's the database modeling, the KPI definition, as well as, developing the reports, setting up the whole architecture, as well as maintaining it. And as you saw, we've done this for our other customers.
And there's actually a question that related to that here as we go through the Q&A. Do we want to jump through the questions, or was it more? Okay. I think the first question that came in here, what are the steps to implement BI analytics from the ground up, company BI analytics from the ground up?
So I'm going to go ahead and answer that, Sean. So Synoptek usually starts with a discovery and requirements phase, or at least getting an understanding of whether you have your KPIs defined, mapped back to your business strategy. So with that, we want to make sure you have your solid KPIs defined and that your organization is aligned on those KPIs, or your departments. So once you get alignment and define that, then there's, what architecture do you already have in place? Where are the pain points? What are the challenges with that architecture or platform? And we'll either, build something from the ground up, or work with your existing architecture to determine what you need to support those KPIs and future use cases. There's also a data governance piece too. We'll want to understand your, data governance model, or what your requirements are. And then we will move into implementing building the data warehouse and the reports. And we will work with your team to help you understand. We'll want to understand whether you have people who want to also be part of the team, and or if you want business users or people to be part of the process and learning how to do Power BI on their own, whether it's going to be self-service, whether there's training, right? So we will work with you along the step of the way, or you can just, we work with however you need us to work. So we have a very flexible model on how we build our team to be able to get to the BI platform. But it starts with, I just want to reiterate that the key thing is to not just, I have all this data and all these sources, I'm just going to dump it into, some location. You will end up with too much data and not relevant data. You won't know what to do with all that data. You really have to start with, what are the KPIs? What are you trying to measure? What are the reports that your organization needs to measure? And then you get the data to support those KPIs. And then over time, you can iterate. You're going to add to the KPIs, add reporting, right? So think of an agile way. You can, start with what are the most prioritized KPIs that you want to get value out. And then you add the data sources and add the data that you need to support those future KPIs and those future reports. So I think, Sean, do you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I think that says it all. And then I think that's a good segue into the next question here, which is, what resources do you need for deployment? I think you touched on that a little bit as far as needing the business analyst and the data analyst to really pull together the stakeholders from the various business units and defining those KPIs, right? And then the data modeler or the data engineer to put that into a data model that's going to be able to use. You've got a data architect to choose technology and architecture, and so those are some of the resources, as well as a BI project manager, technical project manager that really knows how to move these things forward.
And then the BI architect to help with the defining the architecture, and then you'll need an ETL developer, or depending on if sometimes you can get a resource that's scaled across multiple different areas. So yeah, so there's usually a different sets of skills.
Yeah, it's typically a multidisciplinary team to be able to bring the most important pieces ready when they need to be ready. Right? It's getting that planning and implementation planning up front and definitions up front before just jumping right into architecture and design. So having the right resources at the right time in the solution development, the solution lifecycle, that's the key.
Yep. And then let's move on to the question 3, which is how can CIOs ready their organizations and get buy-in for true advanced analytics? Yes. So I think the key thing that we see is getting people excited. You need some sort of communication plan to your teams of all your stakeholders and or all the people involved for advanced analytics across the organization to understand the benefits, right? If you understand, that here's our business strategy, our company focuses on X business strategy, then it's about what those KPIs are for those advanced analytics cases and what the benefits of those what those advanced analytics use cases can do for them, right? Just think about how easy it is to make decisions about when to just the motor manufacturing line, or, we have another case where you can predict where should you spend your advertising revenue. So if you have real good use cases and you explain to your group of stakeholders, your constituents, for all the people who need buy-in, then I think you need to build excitement. So there needs to be a communication plan and training plan to get the organization to adopt and understand the benefits of why you're doing something and the benefits to the organization and the benefits to them, because their departments will so hopefully benefit from utilizing some of these analytics scenarios. So with that, we're going to move on to the last couple of slides where we're going to talk about the Synoptek Overview. And Michael, I think you're up to talk about that.
Thank you. So when you look at bringing on board an IT solution provider, you can sometimes pick somebody who you might consider to be best of breed for the project that you're looking for a solution. But then if the IT needs of your company grow and change as your company grows and changes, can that IT solution provider grow and change with your company's needs? So that's how we at Synoptek view ourselves as a company who you can bring on board, let's say, to solve a business intelligence solution. And then as your needs of your company, your IT department grows and changes, Synoptek can grow and change with your organization. So on the left-hand side, you see a wheel. We can do business applications, mobile apps, application security, data insights with business intelligence and data analytics. We can do cloud migration, both Azure and AWS. We're certified at the highest level with both of those firms. We can come in and do an analysis on your infrastructure for upgrading servers or migration to a new firewall, or updating other components of your hardware. My favorite is cybersecurity, where we can come in and do analysis of your firewalls, analysis of your current standing, and we can actually do an assessment of where your position is now and where it can grow to. We can help you with product development of the solutions that you currently have. And what we like to say is that Synoptek will be the last IT solution provider that you'll ever need. Real quickly, we have over 1,000 full-time employees. Our engineers and our subject matter experts have over 5,500 certifications. And we also like to talk about our partners with AWS and Azure, where we're platinum and gold. And enough about Synoptek sales pitch, but back to you, Debbie.
All right. Thank you, Michael. So if we go, just a couple more slides that we wanted to run through, just that we have, a framework here that we utilize for our discovery, assessment, planning and preparation, then migrating to basically a framework or a methodology to help you, to go through those steps that we, there was a question before. So we have this business intelligence framework that we use to help you get to that BI platform. And then, this is another way to look at it as well as, starts with discovery requirements and envision phase. So you can understand those KPIs, right? Your future state architecture, data governance, et cetera. And then we move to implementation, then we evolve, which is the agile way of just continually adding sources and KPIs. So I'm going to move pretty quickly through this because we're about over time. And then just, these are the we talk about skills, and these are the different technology components of a platform that you would need, that you may have parts of these already, or you need to, create these, right? So you have the data extraction, the processor, the data warehouse, which is where you store all the historical data and the data that's used for reporting and analytics. You have your analytical layer, which is your tabular cubes, et cetera, which is dimension modeling, and then the visualization component. And this is, just our standard architecture component diagram. So with that, I'm going to pretty much close this webinar. One more slide, whoops. So with Sean is going to cover this real quickly on what maybe some next steps would be on how we could help you. So Sean.
Thank you, Debbie. I know for a lot of folks that we speak to, whether in a webinar environment like this or for prospects and leads and customers that we're talking to, where do I start? How do I? We know we have a need here, but I don't know really where to start. And so, we spend a lot of time going through, sort of pre-sales discovery questionnaires and talking and interviewing. And really, what we found is that it's hard to pull everybody together unless there's a real formal sort of objective around it. And so what we've put together is a 2-week data analytics assessment with the aims that you see here. It's really to engage with the stakeholders, understand those analytical requirements, understand the data sources, and analyze how those data sources will support the KPIs. Design that future state architecture, whether that's a build against an existing architecture or a greenfield, something brand new. Make sure the data governance is in place so that we have the definitions and the ownership assigned to those data pieces, and then the implementation roadmap. So a plan to take that and move to an implementation. And that includes any of the infrastructure costings that might be associated with that. So I'd like to invite you to reach out to engage in maybe a 30-minute conversation where we can custom tailor this 2-week data analytics assessment to your company's needs and objectives and current state and desired future state. So we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to talk to you more about how data analytics can drive competitive advantage within your organization.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We hope you've gotten some value out. Thanks for spending the time with us. We do look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.